How's your Danish pastry, Bill?
Oh, Robert, this is my fourth one. I'm calling this one Kenny.
Kenny.
Aye, I'm going to eat it from a distance.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's set piece. And what a morning, what a day, what a night. Scotland. Steve Clarke and the boys, absolutely tremendous. Bill, doesn't get any better than that last night. Absolutely phenomenal.
We had very different viewpoints on the game, or very different ways of watching the game.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, he wasn't there.
I wasn't.
So let's get this right. You're coming back from holiday. What in itself was remarkable. You've actually managed to see the game on the way back from Seville.
It was amazing. My, as you know, boys and girls, I was in a sling for a while, and my wife brilliantly said to me, "When you get out your sling, I'm going to book us a wee holiday." I said, "Oh, thanks very much. We're going to go to Seville for a long weekend." I said, "Brilliant, darling. When is it?" It's the weekend of the 15th, 16th, and I looked at her and she kind of went, "What have I done?" And I says, well, it's the two games that could get us to the World Cup. She went, "It's non-refundable and cancelable." So fine. So I said to her boss, I said, "You're going to laugh at this, Roger." Anyway, Robert and David Friel, who was kind of filling in for my role, the two of them were magnificent as ever.
Brilliant, what a night.
And last night was just... So I got, as the plane was coming in from Seville to land in Edinburgh, just about half time, a bit of signal. It's a message from my son saying, "We're 1-0 up, Scott McTOMMINAY, greatest goal ever, blah, blah, blah." I get into the baggage carousel just as the penalty was given, the VAR was, and I've sent Robert a text saying, "I think I'll just go back to Seville." And from then on, well, you tell me what it was like at you.
Just incredible, Bill, honestly, genuinely incredible. There's the front page of today's paper. Donald, where's your boozers? What a headline. And the back page, Worldies. The Worldies, the goals, you just say, Scott McTominay's overhead kick 2 or 3 minutes into the game. Genuinely jaw-dropping stuff.
Yeah. That's like the moment. I mean, Hampden moments. Zidane's goal in the Champions League final is one of the greatest goals you'll ever see at Hampden. But the height the big man got up.
Yeah.
And you know the thing that got me when I got in the house later on last
night.
You
were in and watched it on you the whole thing.
So I'd watched this from 1-1 onwards in the car driving back, not driving, police. Okay. In the house, put the whole thing on, watched it all again this morning. When Scott McTominay scores and he runs away and the players are all trying to grab him and he's kind of shoving him away. I thought, what's he doing? And he runs to the touchline and and the Steve Clarke goes to him and goes, "Where's my mum?"
Brilliant.
And I just,
yeah,
you fill up.
Yeah, you do. But what a goal. Andy Robertson actually touched on it post-match and saying he almost scored too early, and he kind of did, because after that Scotland obviously retreated, and Denmark are a decent team.
They're a good team,
and they dominated the rest of the first half, and it was inevitable that Denmark were going to score.
I mean, the disallowed goal is a shove, but it's one of those ones.
Yeah, it was a foul. There's no doubt about that.
I've seen people get away with them.
The penalty, when it comes,
it's a penalty.
It's a penalty. Aye. It's borderline. It's unlucky. We're talking inches, and had that been one of the big moments, it doesn't get.
Andy's in the box when he.
If that's one of the big moments that doesn't get us there, you're kind of devastated because you're talking inches. Yeah. But it was on the line. It's a foul and a great penalty, has to be said.
Yeah.
But the resolve of the boys to come back from that was just phenomenal.
And of the manager, the way he made his substitute. I mean, you think about it. 3 subs have scored last night, which is amazing. The double change when he then brings on the 2 strikers in Adams and Shankland.
Yeah,
is
he had to go for it.
He had to go for it, but he's been accused a lot in the past of not going for it until it's too late.
Yeah.
But that was a great time. He still had 25 minutes, and a lot. We sat here last week. Kenny Miller said, you both said you wouldn't start Shankland. I said I might have started Shankland. You were right, he didn't start Shankland. But Kenny said he might be the guy that comes on and scores a goal, gets you the World Cup.
We did. We both said that, and it looked as though that was going to be the way.
And it was a perfect Shankland goal.
Yeah, it was.
So Scotland don't do enough of.
Yeah, I thought Kasper Schmeichel was a wee bit culpable, to be honest with you. But yeah, it was brilliant, and you thought that was the moment. And then they raced up the park, 10 men. I mean, the red card, the second yellow card.
He's unlucky, the boy.
I think the boy.
But we'll take it.
But unlucky is
John has played him like a fiddle.
Played like a fiddle, exactly. But when they go 2-2, you're thinking, come on. Done. You know, it's like 10 men. They've defended so well up to that point, and just such a spawny goal. Just Kieran Tierney comes in, heads the boy. To be fair, a bit of coolness in the box.
It's a great finish.
Slides it, and it's a great
really good finish.
But honestly, to come back from
that, there is... KT's goal is magnificent. He's had a tough old season. He's been doubted a lot about whether he's still got it or he's not. He then comes on out of position. He's not played right back for a long time. And that, as you know, I've wrote my column on Monday about Steve Clarke having carried quite a lot of luck through this, and that wasn't a criticism of Steve Clarke. I'd rather have a lucky manager than an unlucky manager. But again, Kieran Tierney normally wouldn't be in that position to get that ball. John McGinn's shot hits off Grant Hanley's backside. Yeah. It all kind of falls kind of neatly, and his finish is just magnificent.
Yeah, he didn't try and smash it. He didn't. No, he just technique. Yeah, trusted his technique. Just put. But
of all people to get that goal at that moment.
Yeah, it took a slight nick, didn't it?
Well, the boys tried to back away from it, and I think it's just off his shot. Yeah. But I still don't think Kasper Schmeichel's getting to it.
No one near it.
And then,
I mean,
at this point, I'm just going past kind of Hart Hill, somewhere like that, and it's snowing. And I'm in the car, and KT's scored. I'm going, that's it, wasn't really there. And I'm thinking, well, what if they go back up? Oh. And then next thing, the signal went, and the screen, I'm on my phone, and the screen freezes. And I'm thinking, I don't know what's happening. And I'm thinking, there must be 5 minutes of stoppage time now. It must be nearly finished. And then it comes back on just as I see Kasper Schmeichel running backwards.
Yeah.
And Kenny's goal is...
Yeah, phenomenal. I mean, you're going past Hart Hill. I'm having heart palpitations, to be honest with you. The way, I mean, you're having to try and kind of put together 900 words, and it's bedlam, Bill. Genuinely bedlam around us.
But this is when I love our job. A lot of people ask, when do you write? When do you write your stuff? When do you get? We write our stuff live as it's happening. It's got to be delivered within about 5 minutes of the final whistle. Yeah. And when a game changes like that, you just go into automatic pilot mode. You know, it's 10 o'clock at night. It's places around, and you've got to be cool and you try to hug your mates, but still right with one hand.
I'm not sure you've described any of us as cool at that point.
But in your head, it's
yeah, you need to be cool in your head, of course.
And I tell you who was Kenny McLean was so cool in his head.
But tell you what, if he misses it, you know, if the ball hits the crossbar and it goes back, then they've got another attack. Didn't he? Exactly. But everyone is screaming for him to go to the corner flag.
Which normally, I mean, see if he just flicked it up and booted it into the crowd, the game would have been finished. Like a rugby, like the end of a rugby match or something.
No, not luck, it probably wouldn't have been.
Do you know what though? Kenny McLean, there's a guy that typifies Scotland under Steve Clarke. Never been first pick. He's never moaned. He's never called off. He's now scored the winning penalty in the semi-final against Israel, the playoffs, to get to the first Euros.
Yeah,
he then scores the winning goal and probably the most important goal of the tournament, the qualifying, to get us to the finals last time. And now he scored the goal that absolutely seals the World Cup. I'm so proud of him as a boy who grew up playing for our team, for St Mirren.
Oh, it's funny because my boy Joe was at the game last night, and he was out at St Mirren years and years ago when Kenny was there, and he's got a picture that he still loves of him when Kenny McLean. It's like an open date at St Mirren, and he's like, and he's done, and I think he's posted it on his Instagram 2 or 3 times, as you say, because there's been so many big Kenny McLean moments. Phenomenal. But it's when you watch what it means to people, Bill. You know,
honestly,
it's when we're privileged to go to all these games, home and away, and sometimes you get a wee bit kind of blasé about it. But when it comes to Scotland games, you know, you can see what it means to people. And it's like, people talk about limbs, you know, it's like you're looking around, you'd imagine that, you know, looking around the stadium and there's people, strangers hugging strangers, you know.
That's what happens.
Men, women and children crying, you know, there's just like, it's genuinely real raw emotion that comes out of people. And this is a game of football, you know. Well, it just takes people away from what's in their lives.
Whatever's in your lives, exactly.
It's absolutely phenomenal.
That's the absolute joy of football, is no matter what's going on, you all have a common cause. And at 2-2, we were going to as we said last week, we always had that tucked away, the playoff. But that would have been so. That would have been so hard to take, though, Bill. As I said last week, I thought that's where we were going to end up. And if Belarus hadn't done the ridiculous thing they did in Copenhagen, that's where we'd be. But you know, life turns on its head, and we did what we did last night. It could have been irrelevant, but it wasn't. It was the most relevant thing in 28 years of Scottish football, and absolutely. I mean, just that whole, wherever you were, in a bar, in your motor driving through Hart Hill, in the press box, in the stands.
You remember that? Oh, you remember that, you know?
Where were you when Scott McTOMMINAY, you know, scored that overhead kick, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I wrote the first, or the second game, I wrote that it almost felt like it was meant to be, and I think we as the campaign went on, we had that kind of, a few of us had that feeling. I spoke about it on here, but you felt that it was meant to be, And it did. There was moments last night where you think the kind of stars were almost aligned.
Yeah.
But it still needs the stars on the pitch to actually do it.
100%.
You know that I kind of wrote that. You're thinking,
luck only gets you so far.
Yeah, that's the thing. There was genuinely a feeling of fate and destiny. Yeah. But no, it still needs. It's not. Scott McTOMMINAY still has to have the nerve to go. Do you know what?
Gannon-Doak still has to have the wee cut back and the cross.
Kenny McLean, Kieran Tierney, Lawrence Shannon, and all the other boys. Not just him. Craig Gordon. We spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. So pleased for him. He's come in. I mean, I know we lost.
Your interview with him afterwards
in Greece. He's so emotional and what it means to him. It's a guy that should be finished as a player. Come through so many injuries. Even now, he doesn't go to the last Euros, and yet here he is.
He has a farewell game, basically.
I know he did. And
he's a testimonial for Scotland.
And but he plays in that game knowing he's not going to the Euro. It's phenomenal. And yet here he is, potentially. If he can get playing, hopefully,
and making big saves.
Yeah,
he's made big saves.
He could be going to the World
Greece.
Cup at 43.
It'll be on the opening day, June the 11th. He'll be 43 years and 162 days old. He'll be the second oldest player ever to play in the World Cup.
Wow. So listen, if it happens, what a story. Almost thought it was going to be written. He was going to save that penalty, you know.
Well,
but fair play.
But a great save when he stood up in the first half to Hoyland when Hoyland was clean through.
He was offside.
I know, but it's
still a great save.
But that's what Craig Gordon does.
And he puts Stout and Hoyland's beat at that point.
And he's had great saves, although we lose the game anyway. He's had great saves in Athens on Saturday night when we could have been 4-0, 5-0 down, but before half time. So right through the team, Aaron Hickey back from his 2 years of injury nonsense. And, Grant Hanley coming off the bench when Suter gets injured in the warm-up.
I know.
You know, and
Steve Clarke, sorry, Bill. Steve Clarke spoke brilliant about that after the game, because he said after the game in Greece that Grant Hanley had said to Steve, sorry for my performance. And Steve Clarke says to him, you've got nothing to apologise. And obviously, Grant Hanley is clearly he's been his main man for the last few years, but you've got nothing to apologise for. And here he is, he has to turn to him and say, big man, you need to play. And to go from, he would have been disappointed not to start, clearly, but to just switch that and go on and just, you know, it's
and that's
brilliant.
I think that's one of the great strengths of what Steve's done is, I talked about Kenny McLean, you know, we used to have conversations with Gordon Strachan about good teammates and bad teammates and the ones that you didn't want hanging about when they weren't in the team.
Radiators and drainers. I don't think there's one drainer in that Scotland squad. I think they all want each other. I mean, you saw when Kenny's goal goes in for 4-2, the referee hasn't blown the final whistle yet. Every player, every coach is on the pitch celebrating McKennie and diving all over the top, and the referee's eventually going, that's the game finished. Up the road. What about Steve Clarke? Talk to me about him for a bit here, Bill, because we've been to 2 Euros, and whatever anyone thinks about how the team did in those 2 Euros, we got to 2 Euros, which is, for me, top of the list of what that means. And here he is, he's taking us to the next World Cup. Where does that rank? Well, what are we talking about here?
The greatest Scotland manager ever. He's the first guy to take us to 3 tournaments. Doubt. I don't think there is. I mean, statistically, nobody's taken us to 3 tournaments.
I agree.
He took over when we were at a really low ebb. We had completely lost our connection with the Tartan Army. We had losing to Kazakhstan and whatever else. And he's taken us through phases of being really quite horrible to watch and scrambling to get here and get there. And then we start and then we have dips, and then we have little rises again. And I said the biggest dip would have been the Euros, the second ones, when we got so many things wrong. I think including the squad he picked, but the way we played was terrible. Everything, the mentality seemed wrong. And there was talk at the end as he goes, he's staying. We both said at the time we wanted him to stay because who was better than him out there? But also his desperation to get us to the World Cup, I thought that's going to turn things. And it gradually turned during the Nations League, and we picked up and then we dropped again. And he has carried luck through this, but he deserves his luck. I watched Steve Clarke since he made his debut with St Mirren in 1982. And he got his big move to Chelsea. He was brilliant with Chelsea. He's had Ruud Gullit, Jose Mourinho, Ken Dalglish, Bobby Robson have all said, I want you as my number 2. Chelsea had him as their captain. This guy's got something. And I remember being devastated for him when he didn't get picked for the 1990 World Cup. And he kind of mentioned last night.
He's mentioned that a few times. There's something that's been driving him, 100%.
And he doesn't really make it about him. He never does. No. But when you've reached the level he did in his career, and he was a tremendous footballer, but gets maybe 6 or 7 caps, doesn't go to a World Cup, to go there now at the age of 63 is, and he looked in the post-match press conference last night as if he was going to go a couple of times, as if he was going to have a wee bit of a wobble.
I said to him after it, we spoke after it, there'll be an interview with Steve Clarke in tomorrow's papers, in fact about today from at 6 o'clock, and I'm not thinking, but he spoke a few things, but I said to him at the point, it looked as though he'd a kind of weight lifted off him, very much so, and I don't think there's any doubt with that.
No. And his celebrations with the players was
just so pleased for him. Best ever. As you say, start wise, he is.
Well, we Craig Brown was magic. 1996. Well, 1982 as an assistant. 96 for the Euros, where we almost got through, and then 1998 the World Cup, where we didn't really do our best work, but it was great getting there.
Yeah.
But then you think back, Willie Ormond, great back in the 70s, great. Ali McLeod, flash of incredible genius, and then it all collapsed. Nobody's had the consistency of improvement of Steve Clarke.
No.
To take us from where we were to where we are via 2 finals, and we should have done a lot better in the 2 finals we've been at. But when you see what those players do for him, that tells you everything. Yeah,
that's the thing. As you say, we've both sat here and written in the paper about how we believe he's still the man, or was still the man to take Scotland forward, and it's proven to be the case. You can understand the criticism from certain people to a certain extent, because the performances at the Euros, no one was more disappointed than you and I.
No.
The way it finished, the Hungary game, and how we didn't turn up. I thought, if you look back at that last one, I thought they just players, and not just Scotland players, they were shattered.
Aye.
There were so many players who had such long, hard seasons building up to that tournament that they were shot.
Yeah.
And I think that was the case with John McGinn, with Andy Robertson, with so many of our players. They never turned up. They didn't do themselves justice. But I genuinely thought, and I said it, and I have said it, I think that was a big driving factor in this one.
In this one, yeah.
And again, Andy Robertson spoke brilliantly last night about so many things. His words in Jota were sensational. But that
totally from the heart.
Yeah, he did absolutely sensational what he said, talking about how he was thinking about him all day, and he was in his head, and they spoke together about getting to World Cup.
Yeah.
Portugal, Jota, I think, missed out in the last World Cup with injury, and obviously Robertson didn't go with Scotland, and they spoke about it, and obviously Jota no longer with us, and he spoke about how emotional he was, but he also said about how this was his last chance.
Yeah.
And we've spoken about this before.
There's a lot of that team.
This was their last chance, and I genuinely sensed, albeit there's been so many games in this campaign where they didn't maybe play as well as they could have done, but they had something about them. We've seen Scotland play against teams building in recent years in qualifiers, teams that we're better than.
Mm-hmm.
The Czech Republic. At that point, we thought we're a better team than the Czech Republic, but we lose to them.
Mm-hmm.
Kazakhstan, at that point, we think we're a better team than Kazakhstan. We lose.
Belarus have beaten us at home.
Right.
We go to Georgia and lose.
Georgia, the 17-year-old kid in goals, we lose. There's been so many times when we've lost games and we think we're better.
Aye.
So we then can't criticise our players
for punching above their weight.
But for winning games.
And that they shouldn't win.
They maybe, but not that they shouldn't win, but when they maybe don't play so well.
No, yeah.
We should beat Belarus. We didn't play well against Belarus.
Also,
we should beat them.
I don't think we played that well last night.
No, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah.
But we can't be.
No, we can't.
It's
a very Scottish thing to think that we're hard done by sometimes, but then knock ourselves when we actually get a bit of success.
And you need that.
And one of the reasons why, to go back to where you started here on what people think about Steve Clarke, what some people think about Steve Clarke is, he's not Ali McLeod. He's not, singing and dancing, right? He's not even Craig Brown, who saw the positives and everything. Steve's very pragmatic. And it's funny that he said on Saturday night, maybe the people that booed us after the Belarus win at Hampden will see now it wasn't that bad. He was the one that slaughtered these players for that performance. He said it was the worst performance of his time.
Yeah.
So he's a very pragmatic and a very honest guy, and he never gets too up and he never gets too down. But I think he doesn't do his job for us. He doesn't do his job even for the fans. He does it for his players.
Yeah.
And that squad will do anything for him. We John kind of touched on his pre-match speech back at the team hotel where he talked about his own personal experiences of not being picked and not getting to finals. And he talked about the Ukraine game being such a downer. And he talked about Serbia being one of the greatest nights of their lives. And I think the players at that moment would have punched through walls for him.
Yeah. I don't think there's any doubt about it. I think you're bang on. And that's probably one of the things that influences what we think as well. You see sometimes a manager, and I hate the phrase loses a dressing room, but when they kind of get to a point where they've maybe gone as far as they can with a team, the players have never at any point showed signs of getting to that point.
Yeah, players sometimes need a new voice.
Yeah. That's never been the case.
Even after a really terrible Euros, we lost, Callum McGregor decided to go, but nobody else. And I kind of thought when Callum hung the boots up for Scotland, I thought, maybe Kieran Tierney will go and maybe Grant Hanley's getting to that stage and maybe a few. But everybody's stuck to the...
But that's the thing, qualifying now, I know we had the playoff and you wouldn't imagine anyone would have wrapped it between now and then.
No.
We still would the playoff, but had the playoff not gone well, you maybe would see a lot of players now saying, right, that's me done, because they've not got another campaign in them. Whereas now, they might do it after the World Cup, but that's there for them.
Well, here's the thing though, right? I know that we're all still hugely emotional after last night.
You're emotional at the best of times.
I'm emotional at the best of times when it comes to Scotland.
You want to see them?
Very emotional. I can't help it with Scotland. I've always got...
No, I'm the same a wee bit.
More, when we lose, you kind of go, all right, but when we win, I just get... I get a wee bit teary sometimes. But... And I don't even know what I was saying now.
What are you saying?
I don't know. I see you've got me. You've got me away. No, I'm really happy for Steve. I do think. I think he goes down now as the best Scotland manager of all time.
Yeah.
And if this is the end for him, that's what I was going to say. If this is the end for him, it could be the end for other players. Now here's a question I was going to ask you before you sidetracked me, Robert.
Sorry, apologies.
That's okay. We're all emotional now. Do we go into this World Cup with Grant Hanley, Craig Gordon, Kenny McLean, all the 33s and 34s and 43s, or do we try and freshen up before then?
With who?
That's the question. Do we have?
But that's the thing. If players can to use Ben Gannon-Doak's expression the other day, kind of batter the door down, kick the door down in the next few months, then they're entitled to be in the conversation and they're entitled to think, if Lawrence Shankland doesn't score another goal between now and the end of the season and Kieran Bowie scores 20 goals between now and the end of the season, Kieran Bowie goes to the World Cup, right? So there's a conversation, there'll be players there like him who'll be thinking, right, I need to raise my game in the next few months.
Let's put it a different way. Do you think Steve Clarke, between now and June, might look at one or two of those players and say, I don't think I'm... Like the way he did with Craig Gordon and John Souttar last year, he's got to make decisions.
I think he's an extremely loyal manager.
He's a very loyal manager.
I think there'll be nailed on guys.
Yeah.
Grant Hanley's going to the World Cup.
Yeah.
I don't care what he does between now and the end of the season.
Yeah.
Grant Hanley's going to the World Cup. There's no way in this world that Steve Clarke's not taking him to the World
Adams,
Cup.
Kenny
McLean. If you're talking about Kenny McLean
is going to the World Cup.
Lyndon Dykes, these guys didn't go to the last one. He's going. If they're fitting well, if they play 3 games between now and the end of the season, they're going. I'd be astonished if he took a different view.
Yeah.
But it's maybe different with the goalkeeping situation. Craig being at the age he was, he wasn't seen as the number one at that point, and he was thinking, is he a good understudy?
Yeah.
I think that was part of it. But no, he'll be loyal to his players. But at the same time, there will be guys.
It's exciting for players, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting, but they have to keep playing. As I say, right now, Lawrence Shankland goes to the World Cup.
Absolutely.
Right? But if Lawrence Shankland loses form like he did last season, I don't think he will because he's been playing exceptionally well for Hearts, then in Kieran Bowie, as I say, there'll be others in the same boat, that are like Conor Barron is in the squad last night. He's not getting on, he's in the squad again. He'll be in the cusp. Is he going? Is he not going? He needs to have a good second half of the season, and you can get through. There are others in that same situation.
There'll be boys like Nathan Patterson. They'll be desperate to get fit.
Yeah, 100%.
Because they'll be saying, well, Aaron Hickey's right back.
Yeah, and so he should.
But if it's me or Tony Ralston to be the other right back, who's it going to be?
Yeah, but that is a problem position for him, because there you go. As much as Steve Clarke speaking last night and how he said to Kieran Tierney before the game, listen, Hickey can't play 90 minutes, so at some point you're coming on at right back. I mean, he told him that, and also in his head he joked about it last night. Well, I'm not going to get much criticism for having a left-sided right back, because obviously he steps on it and he scores the goal. Almost fate, fantastic, right? But if Nathan Patterson's on the bench last night, Nathan Patterson's the one that comes on,
and he goes in his outside,
he takes the ball outside and he tries to cross it.
Well, that's the thing.
But if Nathan Patterson's fit, Nathan Patterson we need another right back.
Yeah, we do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So when I wrote on Monday morning about Steve Clarke carrying luck, nearly ended the last 2 or 3 paragraphs of the piece were, you can talk about fate and destiny and luck and all that stuff, but it only takes you so far.
Yeah.
No matter how many things are running your way, unless you are going to take advantage of it, you go back to your Ben Gannon-Doak thing about having a foot in the door and kicking the door open are two different things. And unless you're willing to make that run he made for the first goal, press as hard as we did to win the ball for the first goal, unless you're willing to be Shankland and get in there on the goal line, you're not going to get there. And last night was a brilliant example of how a team individually have their own reasons for doing things, but collectively do it for each other. Yeah. And if we can take that, which I don't think we did into the last Euros, I felt as if we all sort of became a bit individual. If we could play with that individual spirit that comes into a collective, I think we've got a great chance of doing things.
Yeah, I think last night, part of it as well was we knew we had to win, and the shackles were off, and there was, as Steve said in his quotes post-match, there was a magic in the air.
Yeah.
Right? There genuinely was. There was something kind of, you could almost reach out and touch it.
Yeah.
We need to have that at the World Cup.
Absolutely.
And that front foot, Gannon-Doak makes a huge difference. I mean, with his pace and his energy, and he's so alive when he gets the ball. And sometimes he runs the ball out of play. Sometimes he gets the ball taken off him.
And he
sometimes
he runs it
right. That's fine. But the defender he's up against
knows.
Is suddenly on his back, on his heel. When he went off, their left back was able to go 20 yards further forward, because Christie wasn't going to go beyond him, and it changed the whole dynamic. It was a huge
I still remember on his debut. I don't think you were there in Zagreb last year. He made his debut against Croatia, and we get the first point in the Nations League, and he tormented Vardiol, the most expensive defender in the world.
Yeah.
Tormented him, and then did the same to him again in the rematch at Hampden. And you think, this boy has got no fear, and he's got no fear of making mistakes.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what it is. And I hope his injury isn't. I hope he's back playing and he gets.
Well, he was on the pitch at the end of the game. He was, So
I have to tell you, I pulled my hamstring as well.
I bet he did.
Jumping about with Derek McGregor and David Friel. I mean, you need to do stretches before you do your match report.
Honestly, these are. Doesn't matter whether you're a fan or you're in the press it's great. It's the greatest thing in the world. The players are there, right? But to do the job we do on nights like that is just amazing.
I said it last week. Well, we're going to Miami. I still think we're going to Miami. Scotland are going to play in Toronto or something.
But we'll be in Miami.
But we go to Miami South Beach.
I had my doubts.
Yeah, but we've got our preparations before we come on that. We've got our preparations for. It's going to be brilliant, isn't it? The next few months.
I mean, the draw's almost tomorrow. It feels like
the draw's in a couple of weeks in Washington. The 5th of December, I think.
Saturday the 5th, 5 o'clock.
And there's going to be months now. If we qualified in March, you look at it's later. Everything now can build up to their holidays. They can sort out whether they're going to go to the States. They can go and get their visas. They can, it's.
And we are one of the countries that gets fast tracked for visas.
Yeah. Right.
And I'm thinking the draw gets made in the 5th. And I think if we got Haiti, Curacao, and Cape Verde, is that all right? Mr. Infantini and Mr. Trump, if you could just sort that out, that would just be magnificent.
Well, he's Scottish.
Well, that's true.
He's Scottish, and I tell you what, we got to get to the White House.
He can play centre half.
We got to get to the White House. The Steve Clarke and the boys have got to be invited up there. Mondonald, get it sorted. But it's just, you're looking at potentially three different cities in Canada,
just think how many Scots are over there already. If we were to play in Toronto or New York or, and you suddenly go, somewhere like Vancouver. I don't know if Vancouver's even on the list. I don't know. I mean, Vancouver's basically Scottish, right?
One of the great places, one of my favourites.
I would actually, why don't we just book now for Vancouver and we can just get a taxi to Monterey for the first game?
Get that through the expenses. No, it's so exciting. That is genuinely the thing. Everything about it is so exciting. You're genuinely kind of building up to this game.
Yeah.
Just thinking, please, this be the one. I've been fortunate, you've been fortunate, Bill. We've been to World Cups. I was in Brazil for 5 weeks covering that World Cup. Fantastic, unbelievable. But the whole time I was there, I'm thinking, this would be so much better if Scotland were there, if you're covering Scotland.
I've had it twice. I was there as a fan in 1990 in Italy, and I covered it for Scottish Sun in 1998 in France. And it was France 1998 was a fantastic experience. And you just think then, same as players probably do, well, it's happened now, it's happened loads, it'll keep happening.
Yeah.
And then we come into the last game and the qualifiers for 2002, we need to win in Brussels, we lose to Belgium, we're out. And then in 2006, you're thinking, oh no, we're not going to qualify for this. And then 2010, you're not going to qualify. And then it just, and I'm getting sent to all these World Cups at that point thinking, same as you, this is great, being able to just wander about and watch Brazil and Argentina and whoever, but if only Scotland were here.
Yeah.
And then you and I have had the joy of covering 2 back-to-back Euros.
Yeah.
And although they've been disappointing in the end, just being in and around
100%.
the whole thing is so much improved by having Scotland there.
Yeah, 100%. That is what it's all about. But you'll be talking about the players and how they're thinking this is one of their last chances to get to a World Cup. Generally, last week I'm thinking, am I going to get to see Scotland at a World Cup, write about it, work hard?
I'm older than Craig Gordon.
Just a wee bit. But listen,
this could be my last one, my hammies.
But listen, we're going. I predicted it.
Yeah, you did.
I did. What was it I said last week? It was written. I was convinced. We sat here with Kate.
Boys and girls, here's what happened last week. Mr. Robert Grieve, right from the start, being a bit naive about these things, he went, "We're going to the World Cup. We're qualifying for the World Cup." And I said, "Robert, I've got my doubts here, mate, because I think we'll lose in Greece, and I think Denmark will beat Belarus, and then it could become irrelevant." And I said, "I'll be delighted to be wrong. I'll be the happiest man in Scotland if I'm wrong. In fact, you can give me a custard pie right in the coupon."
So what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? As promised, Mr. Bill Leckie had no faith. He had no belief.
That's not true.
He had no faith. He said it wasn't going to happen.
You've always got to take it too far.
And if it did happen, I was able to do this. So, on behalf of everyone who watches the set piece, well done, Scotland.
Happy days.
Steve Clarke and the boys, different class. We'll see you at the World Cup.
There we go. Who's going to clean this room up?